आमचे CCR TV Polendarank, my Moga Soyokar. We welcome all of you to the launching of our new program entitled Activists of Goa. For all of us to be on the same page, an activist is defined as a person who campaigns to bring about political or social or environmental, for that matter, any change that we can think of. And what we know, activists have been calling for change. They have been organizing several solidarity movements, events, and an activist person per se is the one who uses or supports strong action such as public protest in support or opposition to one side or the other. We have with us the one and only lady, architect, activist in environmental issues. She is a writer, has been talking about education, but more so, you have heard her on environmental issues. She is from Tallulah, but originally parents from Kanakona who migrated to Panjim, and she has been living here in Donampaula now. We welcome architect Tallulah de Silva. Nice to have you here with this new program that we have launched. So lots of people would want to see what you have to tell us as an activist. Basically, you have focused on environment.
Yes.
What exactly, which area of the environment have you focused? Because as of today, I am relating to you the pictures that we have of the environment. They say that air quality on Friday, that's yesterday at 9 p.m., Panjim was worse than Delhi, Mumbai and Bengaluru. Now, Delhi is 109, Mumbai is 115, Bengaluru is 54, Panjim 123, and then if you go to Mapsa, Pernem 125 and Ponda 133. I am sure you are aware of that, and please throw light on this environment because it's polluting everybody.
Yeah, I think it's shocking, and when I came across the statistics, I was already experiencing the problems that are caused by poor air quality, because if you look at our city, Panjim city, and all across the highway and all across the towns, there is dust pollution.
Yes, it is rampant now.
Yeah, the dust pollution is because of digging of the roads, digging of roadsides, construction activity. There's high amount of construction activity everywhere, right from the most talked about Asagaon to other areas. It is also complemented because of tree cutting. Everywhere there is tree cutting and digging of the roads. Why is this digging happening? Because suddenly the government seems to be in a big hurry to implement various projects under smart city or under improvement of sewage and improvement of water supply. But there are protocols, like as an architect I know that if the owner of a plot applies for building construction license, there are a whole list of steps that you need to take care of to not allow dust to rise, to not aid dust pollution, noise pollution, so many other things. But it's ironic that the government does not have to follow all of this. And you asked about, when was my start and what was the spark of starting. Actually, I don't know, I'm often been referred to as an activist or an environmentalist, but I'm still a baby and nurtured by many of the very good activists in Goa. And my journey started with Bhai Rajen Kerkar of Sattari. I had gone on a trek, and when I met him, I got to know about the notification of many of the wildlife sanctuaries at that time in 2009. And following that, an accidental case of a tiger that was killed, and that led me to a journey of trying something within my means. I think activism is simply being able to speak up, simply been able to say that something is wrong and I want to do something about it. So it started with that journey where along with another friend Aarti Das, who is a journalist, we started an I-petition online, staying in the safe environment of our homes. We reached out to the central government, to the state government, and got a petition prepared by various other researchers, ecologists, environmentalists. And that started the journey of writing about issues, taking one step to do something about plastic pollution, eco-friendly celebration of festivals, so on and so forth.
So how successful have you been? And if you have started with few people, what is their strength now?
I think it is like comparing, suppose you are walking on the street and somebody misbehaves with you, okay, or you discover somebody who's causing harm to maybe another human, could be a child, causing harm to a tree, or throwing a plastic packet in water. Are you going to keep quiet and watch silently? That means if you are watching silently, you are encouraging that kind of behavior. But if you want to stop it, what do you have to do? You have to stand up, you have to hold that person and do something about it.
It
right?
would entail a lot of sacrifice.
Yes, it would entail lot of sacrifice today because the larger majority prefers to keep quiet.
Yeah, we suffer because of the silence of the vast majority.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And in the present dispensation that we see today, if you are well connected with the rulers of the day, you can do anything.
True.
To hell with the environment.
And when you say you can do anything, because largely it is to do with wrong things and violations.
Yes, but then that is what, because if you oppose, you are silenced, you could be even put behind the bars, and therefore what do you do in such a situation?
I think finally it boils down to your values. Okay.
But are the values anymore now valid?
I think they are there, and
they have always been there.
They are always been there, but they have been compromised because of different things. Like when a child is small, when we are small, we are told by our parents, don't do this, don't do that. When we are younger, like youth or youngsters, our parents or our family members often say, "Tuka kidak podla? Why are you getting into it? You will get into trouble."
Yes.
Because over the past many years, this trouble has started making a presence because politicians will use thugs to stop you. People in governance, if they are corrupt, they will try to stop you. So there are a lot of layers where you are being stopped to raise a voice, and that has become a reason why parents or teachers or others will tell you, be careful, be safe, because they feel
also because most of the parents are also part of this rotten system.
Possibly. But I think finally so if you ask me, I cannot do otherwise, in the sense that if I am doing something and somebody asks me for a bribe, I cannot do it. If there is something going wrong, I have to do something.
Yeah, basically activists will never compromise on certain principles, at least.
I think that is critical, because once you compromise, then there is no end to
Now looking at this whole environment now, politics, economics especially, there are a lot of compromises all over, and we have good activists. There are also bad activists also we have come now. Unfortunately, we don't see an activist like Mahatma Gandhi. We don't see an activist like Medha Patkar.
Right.
We don't see an activist like Martin Luther King Jr. Why is that?
So I think because at one level, I often also like to quote from the Bible or spiritual quotes.
Yes.
Because if you look at Mahatma Gandhi, if you look at Martin Luther King, they have always looked at the parallels of what religion also teaches us.
Yes.
And in a way where it crosses the boundaries of religion itself, right? So I think what is important is also to have some amount of spirituality, to understand, the boundaries that are set by humans. So that is one. And I think they were the greatest activists because they practiced truly what
Yeah, because
they preached.
at that time, there was that fear of God. But today, that also has disappeared. You can see now, somebody, God, I believe, spoke to somebody and said, you do this. So you know where we are.
So again, I would again bring the importance of values, because as children, where do we find these values? Our parents instill in us values, in our spirituality, in our spiritual lives, these values are instilled. We learn these values from our teachers or those around us.
Yeah, so it's
I
all
think
about
it's all
passion
about-
also.
Yes,
Spirituality
yes,
with passion.
yes.
Do you think there is hope?
I think there is hope because, like I said, with those that believe that this is the only way forward and any corrupt means or compromising is not the way, then you have to live with hope. And what is hope finally? Hope is to be able to believe that things will become better. And if you look at history, everything works on a cycle. So you go to a point where you abuse power, you misuse privileges, but then there is a downfall. And you see that even in nature. If you don't see any animals misusing, what nature gives you. Everybody is sharing it. But in humans, you see that. And therefore, there are all references in the past where we can see that everybody has achieved more. Let's say there's a politician who has got more money, misused his powers, but then you also see a downfall. And you will see it over generations.
Yes.
And it is important to have that insight because that is the lesson.
They say that it is the educated people to throw the trash on the roads and all that.
True.
And it is the uneducated who collect it.
Where are the politicians today? Do you see them traveling by bus? Do you see them walking on the streets? Only if they did that, they would understand the issues of pollution in the city, environmental violations, the pollution in the creek. They are not doing that. They are in their air-conditioned cars and then they have a cavalcade, they have a, posse of police that allows them to travel from one place to another. They live in homes which are glass houses. If you look at the land in Goa, all of it is sold.
It is over. It is over.
Who are the conduits? It's the people in power. It's the politicians in power. And therefore, then I ask you, don't the politicians have spirituality? Don't the politicians have values? Don't the politicians have children? Because what are you going to teach your children? We would like to be holy, right? When we are talking to children, don't do this, don't do that, don't take money, be sincere. But when we do all these wrong things, what are the values that we are giving our children?
Now, you have been an activist. So, to convey this beautiful message that you are sharing with us, why most of the activists now are not succeeding in the way, for example, Medha Patkar. She succeeded in the Narmada Bachan Abhiyan, whatever it is. She did succeed. But nowadays, it's not so successful.
I think our perception needs to change because what is this success? I think today among the masses, all of us are waiting possibly for a savior like Jesus Christ, for a person like Buddha, or somebody else who will completely resolve all our problems, right? But if you look at Medha Patkar, if you look at so many others, even the activists in Goa, Father Balmax, Mr. Claude Alvarez, we have so many others. Every person who is fighting on ground, okay, today has had to move from ground to a PIL.
And that's where they succeeded ultimately.
Correct.
But everybody cannot afford to.
But I think everybody, if you see the moment that there is action somewhere, that voice is raised, it is a message to another youngster that you have to be able to take that first step. It's many drops that make an ocean, right? So I would say many small actions will make one big action. And this will also turn around because today, especially because of the pandemic and as an outcome of the pandemic, all our government systems have found loopholes to shut the voice of the public, right? There is no public participation. Projects are passed without involving people. and therefore it is going to be difficult. Police are given, the home ministry is being misused because orders have been given to police to arrest anybody who says.
So there is also that fear factor now.
Yes.
Do you think despite all these problems that people are facing, activists are facing, do you think still they are going ahead?
Of course, I think every day you will hear about stories narrated by activists. There is Shankar Polji, there is Tara. Everybody is making videos and documenting. That is also proof of what is going on. Look at the coal pollution. From here I may not see it, but even up to Dona Paula we have coal dust in homes. You have Shankar Polji who is reporting right there at the port. So I think there is something positive that is happening. I think all the activists who are really working in the true sense of the word with strong values are able to create a movement of action, and there will come a time. I think what is missing today is for everybody to join hands, but in the recent Madhe protest we saw that everybody came together. Despite of police being posted in many locations, the event was organized. Many people spoke about the issues, the problems that we will face when Madhe is diverted, right? So I would say that I would not say that the activists are going to keep quiet. They will continue because they will live by those values, right? They can't do otherwise. And looking at them, we have a lot of youngsters today. During the carnival silent march that we did,
Yes.
we had youngsters who were assaulted by the police, and the very youngsters are in various leadership platforms where they are raising their voice. You know, they are not intimidated, and I would say today that is a positive thing to look at.
Yeah,
Lot of
the
youngsters.
youth, I remember when Sashikala was in power, they were agitating against this bus fare concession, and it was certain demonstrations, which sometimes it led even to violence. They succeeded. The lot of movement earlier, if it had this little bit of violence somewhere, that fear factor was there in the government, but today the government has got no fear at all.
Yes, because I think the government is aware of the easy path to implement their plans, their projects. They found a easy path by not doing public disclosure, but it will not last forever, because if you see today there are a lot of youngsters. Save Mole campaign was driven by youngsters, so that is our hope, that the youngsters are already on the path where they know the provisions in the law, where they know the systems to use, whether it is writing to the central government, writing to various agencies, writing to environmental organizations, to be able to let their voice be heard.
If you look at the salt satyagraha, for example, that movement had something very, very dynamic. Do you think it's missing now? There is a movement, but that force which is there.
I think the physical, this may be missing, like you are saying.
Yes.
Activism in the sense of being physically present, raising a voice. There may be less number of people, but you look at it. I attended with a large amount of children the Shandor protest. The protest at the railways at ROC, at St. Lawrence Chapel. Then of course there were many others, Taligaon farmers protests, the Save Mole protest. I would agree to you to a level where to say that there is lot of physical presence which may be missing from youth especially. It is largely because they are answerable to their parents, and many parents do not want their children in trouble. The intention is good because they don't want children getting caught up with police.
Yeah, so is there a need to change the way the strategies are being formulated for activism?
Yes, I think the strategies are already changing. They've already been put into action, because if you look at the Save Mole protest, for example, by millions of letters going from people, whether they were architects, whether they were researchers, scientists, ecologists, different representations were being made, and they finally went to the authorities in charge or who are involved in giving their reports, which were critical at that point. So
because-
I think the strategies have changed for the good.
The strategies at this level have changed. Strategies at the other level from the government also are changing. If you talk a little bit extra, you are put behind the bars.
True.
If you demonstrate, you are silenced. So that fear factor which never existed to this extent, it is now making headway.
Where will it go? You know, because today, while the government is looking at problems at a very myopic level, or let's say looking at land grab and all of this at a very small level, we have a bigger monster to take care of. There's climate change, there's rise in sea level. We are it's historic. The last 2 days we have faced the most extreme temperatures, right? Does the extreme temperatures choose that you are a politician, so I'll put a little bit of shade on you? No.
But most of them are not affected. Even we talked of COVID, they escaped.
Yes, they will try to protect themselves because they will go to the extent of what money can do to save them. But eventually, you can't eat money, right? If there is no water, what will you do? The next war is supposed to be of water.
Yes.
Can you stock water for yourself alone? What if the multitude of people come and crash into your home and take what is rightfully theirs? So I think it is a false notion for those in power and for the governments to think that they are safe if they are misusing their powers, because time will only tell.
Yeah, but then if you talk about time will tell, you know what has happened after these elections, and time told us that there's no opposition.
Yeah, I think people still need to wake up and show in terms of voting power, and I think at least the people that we are speaking to acknowledge the fact that they've made a foolish mistake, but this has been repeatedly happening. I believe that there is always this curve. Once it reaches the peak, it will come crashing down, and then we will see the devastation it will cause to those people who foolishly thought that power and money can decide for others with the
you have been involved in activism. How far it has affected your personal life?
I think I would say nothing, because the children that I work with, my own children, have been actively participating in all the campaigns and everything right from the time that they were born. So I think that point of contact is important, because today if the children are not engaged in understanding the issues, whether they are social issues, they are environmental issues, then they are working, then they are living in these protected boxes, and tomorrow life will suddenly be too difficult for them to handle.
But sometimes at this level, don't you think so it will be a full-time profession to be an activist?
It is. I think you have to be able, I think for every activist, he or she has to juggle the time that they have to know to what extent they can go. But I think I can speak for all activists, because at one level we are dedicating our lives to the mission, for something good.
So you have made it a sort of a mission for you.
Yes, I mean, I have no, I would not hesitate to say that I have dedicated my life to do anything good, because I think universally everybody, if you ask a politician today and if you give the politician an opportunity, I am sure he or she will want to do something good. Only thing is they don't know how to achieve it, how to do it. And right now in their mind they think that only by taking a wrong path, only by grabbing more money, good is to be achieved. But that is not the case.
Do you feel some subtle change about what you are doing?
I would say that in each situation, like let's say the recent protest or the carnival walk that we did.
Yes.
While the police immediately tried to stop us and grab us, right? We managed to already set out in social media what was happening. I think by doing that, the police shot themselves in their foot, and the minister concerned also shot himself in the foot, because by then people were already realizing that what we were doing was completely harmless, and we have to have a right to speak somewhere. Where are we going to speak? What forums are we going to speak? So I think people are using the social media platform to share these stories, and today we know about the Madhe forest fires, we know about the coal dust pollution, we know about Panjim, the dust pollution, because of so many people speaking about it.
But then if you ask the municipal corporation now. What are you doing in Panjim? They tell you,
That is because they are part of the panel that is run by the ruling MLA,
Then-
and they are all compromised,
Yes.
and they are not interested in the welfare
people
of the
in
people.
Panjim, they don't know what is happening before their own houses.
Yes, true.
We have lived, even they say that during Portuguese days, such a thing never happened.
Yes, I think even I had a recent interaction with one of the persons who contested for elections under the BJP ticket, and they were asking the people of Tallulah, you all were foolish enough to elect your MLA because there was so much good to be done. They are only interested in money, and it's the family Raj that is currently going on. But this is the same person who is accepted the very same
Yes,
politicians.
yes.
So I think blaming people is not the only thing to do, and people are not aware of the projects or what work is happening in their front yards and their backwards, because the government is using the wrong mechanism to make money while the sun shines.
Yeah,
right, in a
and
way.
sometimes they make it so legally correct.
Correct.
For example, now Mormugaon Port Authority is no longer a trust. It's an
a company.
authority which has got superpowers.
Yes.
They don't need anybody's permission to do how and what they want.
Yes. So similarly with Panjim, there is a Santinesh Creek which is heavily
Yes,
polluted.
yes.
And as part of the smart city, there is a project which got approval up to a certain location along the river, which is the football stadium. Beyond that, there is no approval got. The local body itself is unaware about it. There are no environmental clearances given. Now, why is the government doing this? They have found a way to cheat people, and they are waiting again for people. See, if you are doing something wrong, if you don't want to do something wrong, you will not do it because there is a value, right? But here we have a government who only will correct itself if people or somebody catches them.
Not
Today,
otherwise.
not
Not
otherwise.
otherwise. You have been an architect by profession. Give me something outstanding or something different that you are now designing homes and all that. What have you gone into?
Actually, my activism continues in all aspects of my life, and right from the time I started practicing as an architect, I was building these eco-friendly homes because I was inspired by Laurie Baker, who is considered to be the Gandhi of architecture, and I worked with a architect called Ramesh Bandekar who worked very closely with Laurie Baker. So it was his dream. It was Laurie Baker's dream to build a community that would build with mud. And
Houses with mud?
With mud, yes.
Are they very durable?
Yes. For the last 8 years, I've been focusing only on mud. And
In Goa?
In Goa. And it is ironic that you ask me this question because Goa, it's nothing new. We have always been building with mud and natural materials.
In the past.
If you look at Ponni Gora,
Yes.
they used to call them Taipaching Gora, where the local lateritic soil, it is like a magic material. It has the right amount of clay and sand and aggregate. So you can just take the mud, add
And-
water to it, and you can build. And therefore, don't you think we are foolish that we are illegally mining sand, we are illegally quarrying stone to be able to build when we have this magic material all
So
around?
I think you have been doing a wonderful work because today sand is a big problem.
Yes.
The costs are escalating, and what you say mud, it will be very, very economical.
Yes. So I'm building right from helping people to build, right from low cost to half the current rate. So that
Half the current rate.
Because then you become conscious about building sustainably. What is building sustainably? You can salvage material. There are old houses which are brought down, which are very good wood. There are old windows. You can recycle and use all of this. That means when we build a house, you have to look at its life. And at the end of its life, also the material should be useful. So today, if you see, cement concrete is a
Yes,
material which
yes.
is the second topmost material which is most destructive on the planet. And it has a life of only 50 years. So you would be foolish to build something with a material which can last.
And how upstairs could you go? How many floors could you
See,
go?
traditionally, like in Yemen and the arid areas,
Yes.
people were building right up to 7 floors.
7 floors.
Yes, and load-bearing structures in mud. In Goa, we have seen, and we are currently, there's a whole community of people who are building with mud, and you can build right from 3 stories in.
You need to be congratulated
Thank
on bringing back this concept which was
Thank you.
there
It's
in
my
Goa.
dream. It's my dream to be able to help and to see even the common man using this simple technology and reviving it.
So it was nice that you have shared your precious moments despite being so busy with your schedules, and I hope people will listen, people will change, and people I hope will be educated with your actions and your talks. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Architect,
Thank
for being with us.
Thank you.